So we've actually come to the end of the day. Now, in order to kind of wrap things up, we're going to invite our friend and colleague, Lisa Warbrick, to come to the podium and just give her reflections. So we're not looking for, we're not going to give you a sort of a full report on what we've heard. It's just Lisa's reflections on some of the sort of key ideas that she sort of heard from the day, and then we'll have a karakia, ana, ko mutu tērā, it's our day done. So kia ora. Yeah, hello mate. Your turn to grab this thing and...
Oh, there's a different view. How are we doing? Ka roha, I'll wrap this up really quickly. Look, I even put my jacket on thinking we were done. So, clearly not. Well, ka nui te mihi aroha ki a koutou tēnei rā. He uri ahau no Ngāti Awa noa, Ngāti Rangatahi noa, Te Ati Haunui a Pāpārangi, ko Lisa Warbrick tōku ingoa. Who am I? I have lots of hats on, but I guess at the end of my kids still ask me, what is it you do, Mum? I do really cool stuff with really cool people. So the lens and context, I'm here today. I am Pouarataki for a national collective of kaupapa Māori organisations around the Mutu who have a relationship with Papa Tuanuku and led by wahine Māori. So he whare tangata lens is the perspective that I come from in sitting here. And a lot of what we do, whether it's forestry, farming, rongoa, innovation, research, I guess the essence of what my mahi is to hustle, and that hustle is bringing the interface of science and research and policy back to the 11 organisations who korowai under te Pū Oranga Whenua. So whilst I'm listening today to the amazing speakers, ngā mihi to those people who shared their experiences, their skills, and articulated and wove a stunning story, albeit in varying contexts. To those that I've met, to friends that I haven't seen for a long, long time, kia ora anō. Summarise today, right? Okay, Jace. I heard a lot, and I've sat in this space for a number of years. I remember going back, I was fortunate to be part of the Te Nohonga Kaitiaki guidelines conversation. That was about 5 years ago with Māori and Genomics Aotearoa. In one of the mahi pieces, I was asked to research how Māori engaged in genomic science of taonga species and benefit sharing way back then. No science. Mr. Pesrick in Form 3 science, I didn't get on with him, so didn't do science. So I found it quite interesting to be in that space only 5 years ago. And what I learned there very quickly was I don't know what I don't know. Where are the Māori? What's genomics? And how are we interfacing? I learned very quickly we weren't. That was only 5 years ago. It was a very small community, and there were those who were primarily either in science or were commercialising. But from a hapu perspective, from whānau engagement, from the kaitiaki-tangaship, we weren't engaging in the commercialisation of taonga species. So the kōrero today, the key points aren't new, is my point, which highlights the significance and importance of, I think my notes were, Crown, regulation, commercialisation. I sit with, we're like 70, 80% the SME space. So those small cottage industries make up 70 to 80% of our market, our businesses, and yet we only talk to the 10, 12% of those large commercial entities who are important. But if we flip it and understand the importance of our smaller whānau hapu organisations that are working with rongoa, that are acting as kaitiaki, and that are getting shit done. And I would have liked to have heard more, and hear more from the practitioners. I don't consider myself an academic, a researcher, or a scientist. My first job at 10, and I've never looked back. I've been self-employed for over 20 odd years, and it's from this lens I've been able to support my whānau and hustle. there's some really cool stories of small entities. I wouldn't even call them cottage industry. Within Te Pū Oranga Whenua, for example, we have wahine whose phone tree is very amazing. We talked about relationships today and the connections and how you can bypass the noise and the racket and go straight to point A without getting caught up and distracted. We get distracted a lot by how we are trying to fit into regulation, about how we're trying to fit into marketing models. I don't even know if I'm making sense. It's been a long day. But one of the other things I'd like to highlight is we talk a lot about exporting in these kind of contexts. What about our domestic market and feeding our own first? What about looking after and providing the rongoa to our people in our whānau and hapu in our own backyard? A lot of these incredible conversations are all focused on economic, which requires intensification. But it talks to the export. How does China want it? How does Japan want it? And I get they're important. We don't talk enough about the domestic markets. How does Ngāti Awa want it? How does Papariki whānau want it? How does, Pōneke whānau want it? We talk external. I'd really like to see more conversations and contextualising our domestic markets and the opportunities that abound in our own backyard. Our babies are being born with, allergies. How does that happen? Our kaia's paru, our Māori food sovereignty is being lost, depending on which context. So today it was fabulous in reminding me and just reignited expanding my phone tree. So if you get an email from me, please answer. I'd like to come and have a coffee. But I think the work is important. The guidelines are always significant. We've been the go-to guide to talk to CRIs and non-Māori organisations about IP and benefit sharing. And so it's very cool to have such a stunning resource that well articulates in a simplified fashion. So ngā mihi, be lovely just to give you a call and go and get a copy of this resource. It is needed. But that said, we've done some amazing work, for example, with CRIs, by simply saying your terms and conditions and your partnership agreement doesn't include mātauranga Māori. Let's go back, and I think you alluded that today, my friend. We do that. For the last 4 years, we've insisted at the start of the conversation. So we're talking relationship, leadership, and taking control. And we have these conversations when we sit down and have that first coffee, not down the track when we start unpacking ideas. Because always, the authority and ownership comes back to the whānau, comes back to hapu. We need to talk about that more. Not the CEOs or the commercial entities, but to those leaders who are kaitiaki of. Anyway, I'm going on now. It's a fabulous day, and I look forward to part 2. Must be a part 2. Ngā mihi.
Kia ora, Lisa. Thank you for those closing remarks. We started our day with a reflection on my timekeeping abilities, which are non-existent, and as a result, we're now sort of close to a little bit over our closing time. But I just want to thank each and every one of you for making this day special and to being here away from your whānau, and thank our manuhiri from overseas. Thank you for travelling all that way to be with us today, and including our manuhiri from Heretaunga and Otepoti, so the ones who have travelled from quite a far away. So thank you for making the time to be with us today. And on behalf of our whanaunga, the international man of mystery, Maui Hudson, and his crew, our crew at Te Kotahi Research Institute, just want to really thank you all and wish you all a safe journey home. And so I'm going to close our hui today with a brief karakia. Kia noi tātou. Kia tau, kia tātou katoa, te atawhai o tō tātou ari ki ahukoraiti, me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhina tahitana ki te wairua tapu, ake, āmine. Kia ora.